Welcome to the Living Faith at Home podcast. This podcast is designed to inspire and encourage you to follow Jesus and live your faith at home. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for Living Faith at Home. It's Pastor Victor here. In today's episode, we're talking to Tim and Debbie Tibbetts about the lessons they're learning, their experiences as grandparents, small business owners, Debbie, who does her job at home, and how they're seeing God work in their lives. Hello, Tim and Debbie. How are you doing?
Hi, Victor. How are you?
Good to see you. I'm doing great. Thanks for zooming in. I'm talking to folks about things God's teaching them, lessons they're learning, just how they're doing in general during this time. So how are you doing? What's God teaching you?
You want to go first?
Sure. We're doing well. It's, always different staying home for such long periods of time. But, we've gone out once together on a weekend, just for a drive, just to break it up a little bit. But, being that Debbie works at home all the time, and I work at home a lot, and then I'm out almost every day, staying away from, distancing, social distancing, and that kind of thing. Yeah. But I think it's been good in the sense of putting us in a position where we have to really consider what God has for our lives, and slowing down, which we've been talking about for the past 6 months anyhow within the church, and then prior to that, experiencing God and seeing how He's working through this whole thing. As far as the time that we have together, it's given us more opportunity to engage with our own personal lives as a couple, and that's been a real blessing.
It's been a blessing?
Oh, it has.
Blessing. Has there been any sparks too, being all in this same place?
Yes, there have.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
iron sharpens iron, right? Iron sharpens iron.
It does. And sometimes there's sparks flying.
Yeah. How about you, Debbie? You want to add anything to that?
Well, not a whole lot has changed for me because I have been working at home for years. So the working at home thing is nothing new. And I think the thing that's changed the most is not going anywhere. And I'm pretty happy being a homebody and staying home. But because someone told me I can't go out, that really bothers me. I don't do well with that word or that, that mindset of can't do something. And so that's been a struggle. But I find myself looking more to God for answers and for comfort and for companionship, which is really, it's been amazing because He just shows me how much that He really is in every situation. And He's always there. And everything that happens is for good and can be for good. And changes aren't always bad. And like Tim said, we are spending more quality time together at night, whereas he has always been kind of a workaholic, and he'll work if he has jobs. He doesn't like me telling people that. If he has jobs, he'll work really late until they're all done. But now he stops earlier, and we spend time in the evenings together. And sometimes it's just talking, sometimes we're just reading, and not necessarily the same thing, but we're in the same room. We watch movies together once in a while, and it's just been really a sweet time.
Yeah.
And since this started, we started a new habit, tradition, something. I don't know what you want to call it. But every morning, I start work at 6:30. He's not up yet. But when he does get up, whichever time that is, he'll come in my office or at the office door, and he says, "Okay, I'm ready." So I go over and we hug, and he prays for us. And that really starts the day. Wow. And no matter what I've done before then, that starts the day.
Awesome.
And it's just been a really sweet time. And I'm a hugger, which everybody that knows me knows that. So every now and then I'll call, if he's working downstairs, I say, "Tim, I need a hug." And he has to come upstairs and give me a hug.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
It's very simple. I mean, actually, I think it started with the 52-day challenge. I think that's when we started doing it. And it's carried through, and it's so simple and so basic that, it's quality time for the two of us together, and it's our prayer time. It might only be 2 to 3 minutes in the morning, but it's like we're pouring out our hearts to God, as we move into the day, as we think about His grace and His mercy and His kindness and His forgiveness, and we'll voice these things and endeavor to live in the presence of God from that point for the rest of the day.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting, Debbie, that you both talked about how you were working from home anyway, and your routine in some sense hasn't changed at all. But the fact that you can't do something if you wanted to, even though from 9 to 5 or 5 to 5, whenever you're working, is the same, is the mindset of, you said it's caused you to like look to God more and have more of that companionship with Him, where maybe you wouldn't if it wasn't just that restriction on you, even if you were doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Right. It's the mindset. It's the
it is the mindset. Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, early in this whole thing, I remember you, Debbie, talked about how you weren't going to be able to see your grandkids.
Yes.
And so there was like, because as this whole pandemic thing developed, things got rolled out gradually. The numbers that we were allowed to be together started to shrink. The, distance we had to keep, started to increase and stuff like that. And so early on, you're with your grandkids. You guys have a local, son and daughter-in-law and grandkids, and you're active grandparents.
Yes.
And so there was going to be this time where you weren't going to see your grandkids, and that hit you hard.
It did.
The timing of it was interesting because we had a leader's prayer time before that, and you had said, I don't know how it's not hitting me yet.
Yeah, and boy, that hit me the next day.
Later,
the next day, I was like, oh, yeah, I shouldn't have said anything.
So, like, talk about that. How's that been? Like, I don't know if that's still the case, but that time where you couldn't see your grandkids and like what that did to your hearts. What was that like?
Well, I have been, like you said, very active in their life since the day they were born, all three of them. And there has never, unless we were on vacation or they were on vacation, there was never a week that I didn't see them at least 2, 3, 4, or 5 times. Their school bus comes by my house before it goes to their house. And randomly, they would get off the bus and come see me. Hi, Gran, just came to say hi. And they'd stay for 5 minutes and then they'd walk home. Yeah. And those were just really precious times for me. And of course, they're not going to school and they haven't been dropping by as much. Yeah. But it's not as heart-wrenching as it was that first week.
Yeah. Why so heart-wrenching, you think?
Then, at first, because of the relationship that we had and how close we were. Yeah. And they would call me up and say, hey, Gran, can you take me someplace? And we would go. And that was just our time together.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe a month ago, was driving with my kids to find some place to be outside. And I drove to your house, and Tim came out because he heard a bunch of racket out front. And it was really good to see you. And I was talking with somebody else this week about how we are living in this weird time where you can see people, you can talk to people electronically and virtually. Even if you talk every single day. But then when you actually see the person, it's so different. You know what I mean? Like, it was so cool to see you. I mean, you didn't come in my car. We didn't shake hands or anything like that. But to see that person, and it, I think even people that don't have faith, I think are realizing that God created us for those relationships.
Yeah.
And, to touch each other, to respond to facial expressions, to, hear a laugh without like Zoom having like a 2-second delay and it gets awkward and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And so I'm hopeful in my own life and for all of us that There will be some things that we take from this once things start to get back to somewhat normal, I guess, that we stay grateful for. You know what I
Yes.
mean? That we stay grateful, that we don't take for granted the relationships, or seeing each other, or being able to give someone a hug that maybe we did in the past. So as we kind of head towards the end of our call here, do you have anything that you hope doesn't go back to the way it was? Something that you've experienced right now, or something in your relationship with God, or a certain perspective that you have on life that you're really glad you've been able to learn. And when we all get back to, seeing each other and normal routine and busyness and all that stuff, you hope you can still keep with you. Tim, can you think of anything like that?
I was just thinking the perspective of relationships with people, because if it gets back to where the routines that people had, it seems to have kept us apart rather than coming closer together. What I mean by that is, everything from like sports to TV to whatever, the multiplicity of distractions that we've had through the past that people have had to try to figure out how to adjust to and not have in this time, of the epidemic and stuff, to where we've actually engaged with people's lives more heart to heart in conversations, whether it's connecting on the phone or doing the Zoom thing face to face. I feel like that could pass, that could just, fall by the wayside if we don't stay focused on that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a vital thing. The other thing you were just talking, and I was thinking about, how we have to wear masks now. It's like, it's like this. It's like, we were joking about somebody in the fellowship the other night looked like Mr. Wilson over the fence. You never see his face, and it's like now when I'm out in public, even when I go to greet a customer or something like that, what I'll do is I'll distance-wise, before I even get close to them, I'll make sure my mask is down and I say, hey, I want you to see what I look like and know who I am. And then I'll put it on. I says, I'll put this on, because we're supposed to.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, in conversation, we were talking about how, looking into people's eyes and things like that. I mean, I'm looking at you right now, but I can tell you're looking at a screen, so I can't tell if you're, there you go. You got to look at the camera to be looking in my eyes. And it's just like, it's such a vital part of communication for us. And it's hard. And then I'm not going to miss that kind of thing, but as far as if we lose the relationships with the people because of distractions, going back to things, I don't think it'll ever be normal as such again, like we have come out of.
Yeah.
I think there's going to, we refer to it as new normal, but I hope the new normal doesn't cause us to separate, and that we stay tight together.
Yeah. Yeah. Debbie, anything from you that you're gleaning from this time that you don't want to lose when things go back to opening up?
Yeah, I don't want to lose that connection with God and my the studies that I've been doing on a daily basis. I want to keep that up, and my Bible journaling, I want to keep going with that. It's been fun. It's been a real learning time for me, and it's not because I want to make a Bible look better or look pretty, but it's just, it helps me to remember what I'm reading and what God's trying to tell me, because it's the verses that pop out at me that God's really saying something in that moment, and those are the ones that I make notes or I draw pictures or whatever in my Bible for.
Yeah.
And that's been really a sweet time between me and God. That's and great. So I don't want to lose that.
Yeah. Yeah. I so appreciated that God sort of pre-planned that we would talk about slowing down and not being in a hurry, and our limits and the importance of connection and all these different things. And one of the things that has been good for me, for my family, is our pace is so slow. Even though we've got full days of school and stuff like that. At night, like you guys said, you're done. You're home. Even if you have a call, a Zoom call or something like that, you're home. And one of the things that I want to be intentional, I hope all of us can be intentional about, is not running out as soon as everything opens up again to fill everything up again, to fill every free moment. But to be intentional and gradual and slow, because God is, it's been a difficult time, a tragic time, a fearful time, but it's been a good time in the sense of us kind of, things that are really important are rising to the top. Everything else has fallen away. And I've been really thankful for that, and I want to take that, when we start to open up again.
Now, I was going to say, I've had conversations with a few people that they talked about how thankful they were for that series of teachings that you did on slowing down, and how that did prepare us for this, and what a blessing that was.
Yeah. Amen. All right. Look, when this is all over, where's the first place you're going to go out to eat?
First place I want to go is Spain.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the first place we'll go.
The restaurant or the country?
Oh, I've never been to the country. I don't have a passport, so it'd have to be the restaurant.
Tim, are you going to go to Chipotle like as soon as you can? I mean, we can still do takeout.
Well, we've got cans of beans in the closet.
All right, I love you guys. Thanks for talking a bit.
Pleasure.
It's great to see you. Can't wait till we're all together again.
Yeah, same
All
here.
right.
Thanks, Victor.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Living Faith at Home podcast. If you'd like more information about Living Faith Christian Church, visit us online at livingfaithri.org.